Hello, my friends. I have four big stories for you today, Monday, November 4th. We're a day before Election Day, so one of those is going to be the American elections. But let's start here. In Moldova, it appears that pro-European candidate for the presidency, Maya Sandu, has been re-elected. Now, it didn't look like it was necessarily going to happen. In fact, Jay in Kyiv posted this before all the election results came in. It seems that Russia has successfully taken both Georgia and Moldova a 2 week period with outrageously rigged elections because it was looking close. This was with 85% reporting. But what actually happened was Moldova was saved by 300,000 diaspora voters. So there were voting centers set up around the world wherever there is large contingents of Moldovans, and so that actually made the difference. Russia's massive election interference operation in Moldova has failed, and Sandu won with 54% to 45% of the vote. And so good for them. I mean, this is the kind of thing that Russia was hoping to pull off like they did in Georgia, to actually create a system of a satellite state that's dependent on Russia. Okay, second big story. We're still talking about North Korea. The U.S. response, now this is in the Kyiv Post, so this is really interesting. What I'm reading is direct from Kyiv Post. The U.S. response to North Korea invading Ukraine seemed like a joke, but it apparently isn't. The United States will provide Ukraine over 200 Stryker armored personnel carriers to help defend Kursk region against potential pressure from North Korea. That's it. I mean, that's like almost nothing. That's crickets. Now, here's Spravdi talking about how the details of Russia's agreement with North Korea regarding joining Russia's invasion have been made public by South Korean intelligence. Russia is reported to pay North Korean regime approximately 2,000 US dollars per month for each soldier it deploys to support Russian forces in Ukraine. Now, there's estimates between 10 and 12,000, so let's just take 11,000 as an average. And let's look at this. 11,000 times 2,000, you're going to have 22 million US dollars is what's going to be paid to North Korea. And in addition to that, there's something more. In exchange, North Korea gains access to Russian missile and space technology, providing a potential boost to its own military capabilities. But they're worried about missile and space technology when they can't feed their people. Their people are basically starving. In addition, North Korea is set to receive around 700,000 tons of rice annually from Russia to help alleviate its ongoing food production shortages. So that's what he's getting in the deal. Now let's look at this. If you have the current population of North Korea is about 26 million. And then if I just went to Perplexity to ask how many people can 700,000 tons of rice feed for how long? And so they broke it down, 700,000 tons. And if we use a global average consumption, 54 kilogram per person per year, and then I divided that by 360 to get a daily number as well. And based on this calculation, 700,000 tons of rice could theoretically feed about 26 million people for 6 months. So about the population of North Korea for about 6 months, but that's only the average daily consumption, which is 192 calories, which is not going to be as much as they need. What they're going to need is far more than that. And so they have an average caloric intake of about 2,100 per day. So you're adding about, I don't know, 8-9% to their average for about 6 months in rice. It's really wild to watch that that's part of the calculation. Okay, shifting gears to the third big story, here is Iran. Iran is planning a comprehensive strike on Israel that will involve not only missiles and drones, but also the regular army. So Iran struck Israel, Israel struck Iran, Iran struck Israel again, and they had a somewhat muted response, which was supposed to be enough that was proportionate so that they could kind of walk away, but Iran's not kind of wanting to do that. So they're going to strike Israel again, according to the source. According to the publication source, the new attack on Israel will take place after the U.S. presidential election on November 5th, but before the inauguration of the new president in January. So sometime after that, it may very well kick off in the Middle East in a more significant way. According to U.S. intelligence agencies, Iran is interested in Kamala Harris becoming president. So the attack is planned after the election. Okay, so that's interesting because now Iran wants Kamala. Russia, I would think, would lean toward Trump. And so Iran and Russia are at cross purposes with this. Now, I just talked about this today. Wait, Iran is doing it too? Iran is involved in U.S. election interference as well. And this was a video from Radio Free Europe. If you haven't seen it, please go back a video or two and you'll see it. It's really interesting. Now, Kamala is actually, okay, so why would they want Kamala as opposed to Trump? Like, Trump's not going to be soft on Iran. Kamala had sympathies with Gaza, away from Israel. Like, Israel's an ally and that's the official policy, but she's really conflicted. And here's Al Jazeera. Harris says she'll end the Gaza war in final election appeal to Arab Americans. And she's talking to Michigan, and there are 200,000 Arab or something of Arab descent or similar to that in Michigan, who would be sympathetic to that. So that's probably what's going on there, is the best I can detect. Okay, let's turn our attention full bore to the U.S. election. Here is Marjorie Taylor Greene already saying that there's going to be election fraud.
I'm very concerned about our House races. I think this is where we'll see Democrats truly steal the election with the House. They may see this as a last-ditch effort to really put up the resistance against President Trump, and we know what that means.
Okay, so let's say, for the record, just between you and I, let's just say, for the record, whoever wins the election is my president. And unless there's some kind of really great, credible evidence, we're not just going to go along with, oh, this election was stolen or that state was stolen. Or we're not doing that. Okay, let's just be adults and say, like, if you think it's stolen, you got to provide credible evidence, and whoever wins is the president. Okay, now let's keep going. Now, with that, here is the real Donald Trump putting out on Twitter, like, here are the polls they happen to all be breaking for him. How about that? So this is Atlas National Poll. Doesn't have quite the cachet that other polls do, and I'm going to show the other sides in just a moment. So, but it has Trump up in North Carolina and in Georgia and in Arizona and in Nevada and in Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania. How about that? He's up everywhere. And then you look at, this is a little different poll. This is New York Times, Siena College poll. These have sterling reputations. And so what we see is Harris over Trump 49-46, Harris over Trump 48-46, 49-47 in Wisconsin, 48-47 in Georgia, 48-48 is a tie in Pennsylvania, 47-47 tied in Michigan, 49 for Trump and 45 for Harris in, so this is the only state that's going clearly for Trump in the New York Times and Siena College polls. I think that those are probably better indicators, but they rightly point out here that everything is within a statistical margin of error, so you can't really say, oh, but see, clearly Harris is winning. Even Trump's poll numbers here are largely within the margin of error. So here and here and here. So, okay. So it's just too close to call. Now, what will happen after the election? I think Donald Tusk is spot on. The future of Europe no longer depends on presidential elections in the US, but primarily on Europe itself, the head of the Polish government said, and that's right. And honestly, it really means more. It's more important to Poland right on the border than it is to a lot of Americans who don't even quite understand what's going on far, far away. But we still should be supporting them. I hope we do support them after the election, and we'll see how this all plays out. Putin, this is CNN, carried in Euromaidan Press, saying Putin is unlikely to negotiate regardless of U.S. election outcomes. I think that's also true as well. Medvedev came out and said it doesn't matter what kind of relationship you think you have with Putin, you're not going to be able to negotiate this. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing. Moscow plans to maintain its offensives despite heavy losses, and their heavy losses are roughly double the average for the entire war right now. Okay. Now this, Sergei Simileni posted this on this day in 2015, 1.5 years after Russia's first invasion of Ukraine. Russian state organized this parade in Moscow, urging them to restore the borders of the USSR and to annex Belarus and Ukraine completely. Like, let's look at what they're saying here. Only Russia, only victory. Remember, this is 2015. I'm very happy. It's been a long time since I've been in Moscow. We are united. Thank you. Do you like this holiday? Oh, I like it very much. Do you know what it means? Unity, unity. Well, forced unity, but okay. I came with my accordion to play and cheer people up. Today is National Unity Day. Unity with whom? The unity with the whole nation. Everybody is united, young and old, men and women, Russian and non, Orthodox and Muslim, everyone. Well, I'm pretty sure that those that didn't want to be part of the Soviet Union, that you want to now make part of Russia, don't think quite that same way. All right. And now, if you think our elections are jacked up, at least Ukraine had different people in each election, right? Different. Whereas in Russia, you had Putin, Medvedev with Putin behind him, Putin, and in Belarus, you had Lukashenko. And it's not because Lukashenko was just that awesome of a candidate, but because it's a dictatorship. So that's where we are. All right, last little bit, Darth Putin, the parody site. You may hate Mondays, but at least you're not waking up to find that you've had 700,000 casualties while spending 500 million to buy the Moldovan election only to lose it anyway. No, there's that. All right, my friends, that's all that I have for you. Thank you for the time, the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.